Ghost marriages are the custom of marrying a couple when one or both parties are dead. It is an ancient custom in China that goes back 1,000 years. And while nowadays the custom is limited, as most modern day Chinese find it odd, it is not by tradition harmful. However, this relatively harmless custom has been going off the rails in recent decades. So why would you marry the dead in the first place? Before we begin, we post death and dying related videos every Friday, so if that sounds like your kind of thing, consider subscribing to the channel. Now let's talk Chinese ghost marriages. Ghost marriages are a tradition combining marriage and burial rites. They have existed since the Shang dynasty and were even observed during the Three Kingdoms period by Emperor Cao Cao, who arranged for a deceased woman to be interred alongside his son, fulfilling the rite of ghost marriage. In Chinese culture, there is immense pressure to get married and have children, partly because parents play a central role in their children's spouse selection. The consequences of the one-child policy are being felt now in many ways, because back then you could only have one child and they wanted it to be a boy, and girls were often killed at birth. As a consequence, now there are 32.66 million more males than females in China, and now those men are grown and there are few women in their age range to marry. Additionally, in rural areas, many young people head off to the cities to find work. Those that stay are usually men working in mining. Now, this is a dangerous field and many of these men die young and unmarried. This means they can't be buried in family tombs and there are often issues with inheritance. Women in these areas often can't be formally buried at all unless they are married, hence the existence of ghost marriages. Dr. Huang, an expert on ghost marriages from the Shanghai University, explains the three most fundamental reasons for ghost marriages are as follows: the fear of being haunted by the dead, the parents' need for emotional catharsis, and the requirement of the patriarchal family system ensuring the continuation of the family lineage. Now, it should be said, this is not happening all over China in the modern day. The practice was banned by the incoming Chinese Communist government in 1949. However, it continues, but it seems to be confined to the rural eastern provinces. In modern society, the boundary between ghost marriages and Chinese law is blurred. While the criminal law imposes penalties for the theft and desecration of a corpse, it doesn't specifically address the practice of ghost marriages, and the law will only intervene if other illegal or criminal activities result from the ghost marriages. Indeed, it is mandatory in most of China to be cremated, and the ruling Communist Party tells citizens to believe in socialism rather than sorcery. But in rural China, people are extremely scared of being haunted by deceased family members, because ghosts can come back to the living world and bring disasters and death, and thus the custom continues. A modern example. In 2009, 1 year after Li died of leukemia in a local hospital in China's central Henan province, his mother finally found him a bride, a young woman from the same village who was hours away from dying of kidney failure. The bride passed away shortly after, and the two families hugged and wept at the funeral, grieving but celebrating. The day after, a funeral-turned-wedding was held, and the couple, who had passed away at a young age and had never met while alive, were buried together at the young man's family grave. He finally became a married man, his father said. The marriage was incredibly significant for the family, as in the first year after Li died, the elders of his family forbade his mother from burying him in the family grave because he died as a bachelor. It would be seen as bringing bad luck to his grandmother, who was still alive at the time, if Li had been allowed to be buried in the family grave. It was really infuriating and heartbreaking, the father said. But as tradition goes, passing away without continuing the family line made Li unworthy to rest alongside his ancestors. Meanwhile, for the bride's parents, if a ghost marriage hadn't been arranged for their daughter as a female, she would never have been allowed to have a formal burial anywhere at all. Hi guys, I hope you're enjoying this video. If you are, please give us some love and click the like and subscribe button. And if you really like it and find it interesting, perhaps share it with others who feel the same. It is very much appreciated. And with that, let's continue the video. When it goes off the rails. When people are desperate, they can do some pretty unsavory things. This is definitely a consequence of the one-child policy that they wouldn't have anticipated. Wang Yong, an employee at Shanxi Province Hospital, is quoted in the Chinese media as saying that once the news of a young girl's anticipated death spreads, dozens of families who have lost their sons would rush to the hospital for an auction war. Usually when the auction is over and the girl's family promises to deliver her body to the winning parents, the girl is still alive, Yong said. Furthermore, Professor Yao from the University of California says that there have been at least 12 prominent murder cases related to ghost marriages, and more cases of kidnapping and grave robberies. In 2016, a man from northwest China murdered 2 women with intellectual disabilities and sold each of their bodies for 40,000 won for ghost marriages. In 2021, the theft of a woman's ashes shocked China. The woman, a live streamer from Shandong province in eastern China, had taken her own life a month previously. After she was cremated, her ashes were stolen by funeral home staff to sell to a local family to be wed and buried with their dead son. The local police detained 3 funeral home workers allegedly involved and vowed to crack down on ghost marriages and said it would launch an inspection of all funeral facilities. But the government has been promising this for years now, as reports of this occur again and again. The price of a female body is usually determined by a range of factors, including age, how fresh the body is, how complete the remains are, physical appearance, and family background. Price calculations can vary widely, but for example, a woman who died of illness tends to cost more than one who died of a traffic accident. In recent times, with the lopsided population, theft and even murder developed to serve the growing demand of ghost marriages. Families keep a close eye on hospital and funeral homes and struck deals with staff handing over money in return for fresh corpses. Because of this, China's legal experts have argued that it's not enough to just tighten restrictions on the sellers and called for more action against the matchmakers and buyers. While China is the most well-known country for having ghost marriages, it's certainly not the only country where it occurs. It is common, though to a lesser extent, in the Sudan and parts of India. Outside of cultural necessity, it's interesting to note that France is one of the only countries that recognise post-mortem marriages in their laws and allows it. So what do you think about the idea of ghost marriages? Let us know in the comments. And with that, go talk death.